2012, a mysterious message appeared online. "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals." What followed became one of the internet's darkest unsolved mysteries. Encrypted codes, hidden locations across the world, anonymous organizations, and thousands of people pulled into a puzzle nobody has ever fully explained. But the deeper investigators went, the more terrifying the mystery became, because this may have never been a puzzle at all. The internet remembers everything. Every search, every message, every forgotten website buried beneath years of digital noise. Most of it disappears quietly into obscurity. Old forums, dead links, abandoned profiles. But sometimes, something refuses to disappear. Something remains hidden in the background for years, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. And in 2012, a strange image began appearing across the internet. At first, almost nobody paid attention to it. It looked simple. A black screen, white text, nothing unusual, no branding, no explanation, just a short message. "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals." Beneath the sentence sat a strange image file. Most people ignored it immediately, but a small number of internet users noticed something unusual. The image contained hidden encrypted data, not metadata, not a watermark, an actual concealed message intentionally buried inside the file itself. And that discovery marked the beginning of one of the internet's most disturbing mysteries. Because whoever created the message clearly wanted to be found, but only by specific people. People capable of solving what came next. The hidden text led users to another puzzle, then another. Then another. Complex cryptography, ancient literature references, coordinates hidden inside code, phone numbers, encrypted web pages accessible only through the dark web. The deeper participants went, the stranger things became. Nobody knew who was behind it. Some believed it was an intelligence agency searching for recruits. Others thought it was an underground hacker organization, a secret society, a cyber cult, or perhaps something even more disturbing, because unlike ordinary internet puzzles, this one felt calculated, professional. Every clue appeared meticulously designed. There were no mistakes, no accidental leaks, no obvious purpose, and perhaps most unsettling of all, the creators seemed to understand exactly how intelligent people think. The puzzles weren't random. They psychologically manipulated curiosity itself. Every solved clue created a feeling of progression, purpose, exclusivity. Participants felt chosen, as if they had entered a hidden layer of the internet invisible to everyone else. Online forums quickly filled with theories. People worked together obsessively to solve each stage. Some spent entire nights decoding messages. Others disappeared from discussions without explanation after claiming they had advanced further. And this is where the mystery becomes deeply unsettling, because no verified explanation has ever emerged. To this day, nobody publicly knows who created it. No confirmed organization, no public confession, no official conclusion, only fragments, rumors, speculation, and a growing collection of strange details surrounding the people who became involved. The name associated with the mystery was simple: Cicada 3301. People, at first glance, the name sounded almost meaningless. But the deeper people investigated, the more disturbing the pattern became. Cicadas are insects known for remaining underground for years before emerging suddenly. Silent, hidden, waiting. Some species disappear beneath the earth for 17 years before resurfacing. And many internet investigators began wondering whether the name itself was symbolic, a metaphor for hidden networks, hidden people, hidden intentions. But what truly separated Cicada 3301 from ordinary internet mysteries was the intelligence behind it. Experts in cryptography later analyzed parts of the puzzles publicly. Many concluded the creator possessed extraordinary technical skill. The challenges involved advanced encryption methods, historical references, obscure philosophy, cybersecurity knowledge, mathematics, and literature. Some clues required real-world travel. Coordinates appeared in multiple countries simultaneously. Posters containing QR codes were discovered on telephone poles in cities around the world. Warsaw, Paris, Seoul, Moscow, Sydney, New Orleans, London. Every poster appeared nearly identical, as if a coordinated global operation had placed them there deliberately. And this raised a terrifying possibility. What kind of organization has the resources to create something this sophisticated, while remaining completely anonymous? The internet became obsessed. Videos analyzing the mystery accumulated millions of views. Forums exploded with theories. Some participants believed the organization was recruiting elite programmers. Others claimed it was connected to digital activism, intelligence operations, cryptographic research, even psychological experimentation. But perhaps the strangest detail was this. The people who supposedly solved the puzzles rarely spoke publicly afterward. Some vanished from online communities entirely. Others refused to discuss what happened next. A few claimed they were instructed not to reveal details. Nobody could verify whether those claims were real, but the silence surrounding successful participants only deepened the mystery. And then came the darker theories. Some internet users began believing Cicada 3301 was not searching for intelligence at all. They believed it was searching for obedience, psychological compatibility, the ability to follow complex instructions without questioning motive, because the puzzles demanded extreme commitment, hours of isolation, obsession, total focus. Participants willingly devoted enormous amounts of time chasing hidden answers created by anonymous strangers. And when viewed psychologically, that behavior becomes unsettling, because the mystery wasn't merely testing intelligence. It was testing behavior, patience, dedication, curiosity, secrecy, and perhaps vulnerability itself. Over time, investigators uncovered another disturbing pattern. The messages repeatedly referenced themes of privacy, surveillance, freedom, and centralized control. Some clues quoted ancient philosophers. Others referenced cryptography pioneers who believed privacy was essential for human freedom in the digital age. This led some researchers to believe Cicada 3301 might have been ideological, a movement rather than an organization. A network attempting to identify highly intelligent individuals who distrusted modern systems. But again, no proof ever confirmed any theory. Only more fragments, more speculation, more unanswered questions. And perhaps that uncertainty is what continues haunting the internet more than a decade later. Because human beings are uncomfortable with mysteries that never resolve. Especially mysteries involving intelligence, secrecy, and hidden networks operating invisibly in the background of ordinary life. We want explanations, clear endings, identifiable motives. But Cicada 3301 never provided any. It simply appeared, manipulated thousands of minds across the world, then slowly faded back into silence, leaving behind only encrypted traces. And one terrifying question. What if the internet contains hidden systems most people never notice at all? The internet has always attracted certain kinds of people. Curious people, obsessive people, people searching for answers hidden beneath ordinary reality. And mysteries like Cicada 3301 tend to affect those individuals more deeply than most realize. Because puzzles are not just intellectual challenges. They're psychological traps. Every solved clue creates momentum, a sense of progress, a reward, and the human brain becomes dangerously attached to unfinished patterns. This is why some participants became consumed by the mystery almost immediately. They stopped sleeping properly, ignored responsibilities, spent entire nights analyzing encrypted messages and hidden code. Some users on old internet forums described the experience almost like an addiction. Not because of money, not because of fame, but because the puzzle created the illusion that something enormous existed just beyond the next answer. And the deeper people went, the more personal the experience became. Early stages of the puzzle were public. Anyone could attempt them. But later stages allegedly became private. Direct communication, encrypted emails, instructions shared individually. This shift changed the emotional atmosphere surrounding the mystery entirely. Participants no longer felt like random internet users solving a game. They felt selected, chosen, as though they had crossed an invisible line separating ordinary observers from people inside the system itself. Psychologically, that feeling is powerful. Human beings are naturally drawn toward exclusivity, secret knowledge, hidden communities, the idea that they are seeing something others cannot. And whoever designed Cicada 3301 appeared to understand this perfectly. The mystery didn't merely attract intelligent people. It emotionally transformed them. Online discussions became increasingly strange over time. Certain users claimed they had advanced to hidden stages they could not discuss publicly. Others hinted at private ideological conversations. Some abruptly deleted their accounts entirely. A few vanished from internet communities without explanation. Of course, many of these stories could have been exaggerations. Internet culture thrives on myth-making. But even if only a fraction were true, the psychological impact remained real. Because uncertainty fuels obsession more effectively than answers ever could. And this uncertainty created an atmosphere unlike anything the internet had seen before. Ordinary online mysteries usually collapse eventually. Someone leaks information. Someone takes credit. The illusion breaks. But Cicada 3301 remained strangely controlled. No verified creator emerged. No public explanation arrived. Years passed. Still nothing. This silence caused many researchers to suspect the organization behind the puzzle was highly disciplined, perhaps professional, possibly experienced in operational secrecy. And naturally, theories involving intelligence agencies began spreading rapidly. Some believed the puzzle resembled recruitment methods historically associated with cybersecurity organizations. After all, the challenge effectively filtered for intelligence, persistence, technical skill, and secrecy. Exactly the kinds of traits intelligence agencies often value. But there were problems with that theory. The puzzle also contained heavy philosophical and ideological themes. References to privacy rights, anti-surveillance ideas, cryptographic freedom, decentralization, themes more closely associated with digital activist movements than government recruitment. This contradiction only deepened the mystery further. Was Cicada 3301 recruiting hackers, activists, researchers, or something else entirely? Then another disturbing detail emerged. Some investigators noticed that many clues subtly encouraged isolation. Participants spent long periods alone solving problems. Alone with screens. Alone with hidden messages. Alone with increasingly abstract ideas about secrecy and hidden systems. And over time, this isolation altered how some people perceived reality itself. Because prolonged immersion inside hidden online communities can distort psychology. The line between investigation and paranoia slowly becomes unclear. You begin seeing patterns everywhere, questioning coincidence, searching for hidden meaning beneath ordinary events. And mysteries like Cicada 3301 naturally intensify that mindset, especially when no clear answers ever arrive. Several internet researchers later described experiencing emotional exhaustion after spending months studying the puzzle. Not fear exactly, something stranger. A feeling that the mystery was intentionally designed to destabilize certainty itself. Every clue raised more questions. Every discovery deepened ambiguity. Nothing resolved cleanly. And psychologically, unresolved uncertainty is deeply uncomfortable for the human brain. We crave closure, narrative endings, definitive truth. But the internet often operates differently. Information appears fragmented, anonymous, unverifiable. And Cicada 3301 weaponized that environment perfectly. The mystery spread precisely because nobody could fully prove anything, which meant every theory remained alive indefinitely. Some believed the organization no longer existed. Others believed it had simply gone underground. More extreme theories claimed the public puzzles were only distractions hiding a deeper operation still functioning invisibly online. Again, no evidence ever confirmed these claims. But the fact that people seriously considered them reveals something important about the psychological power of secrecy. Hidden systems frighten human beings because they suggest loss of control. The possibility that invisible structures exist beyond public understanding. And the modern internet amplifies that fear enormously. Most people have no idea how much of the internet remains invisible to them. Private networks, encrypted communities, dark web marketplaces, hidden forums, anonymous communication systems. Entire digital ecosystems exist beneath the surface of ordinary online life. And Cicada 3301 seemed to emerge directly from that hidden world. Not loudly, quietly, like a signal briefly breaking through static. For many people, that realization became the true source of discomfort. Not the puzzle itself, but what it implied. That anonymous individuals with extraordinary intelligence can coordinate globally without revealing themselves. That hidden networks may already exist around us, operating silently beyond public awareness. And perhaps most disturbing of all, that some of the internet's most influential systems may remain completely invisible to ordinary users forever. Because unlike physical reality, the internet allows power to exist anonymously. A person can influence millions while remaining faceless. An organization can shape conversations without revealing identity. A hidden network can recruit globally without public recognition. And Cicada 3301 felt like proof of that possibility. Not necessarily dangerous proof, but unsettling proof. The kind that changes how you view the internet permanently. After learning about the mystery, many people reported feeling strangely uncomfortable online afterward, as though the familiar digital world suddenly contained hidden doors they had never noticed before. And maybe that is why the mystery continues haunting people years later. Because Cicada 3301 was never just about puzzles. It exposed something psychologically terrifying about the internet itself. The realization that invisible intelligence may already be operating quietly in the background, while most people never notice it at all. To understand why Cicada 3301 disturbed so many people, you first have to understand something about human psychology. Human beings are naturally drawn toward mystery, especially mysteries that appear forbidden. Hidden knowledge creates emotional gravity. The less accessible something feels, the more valuable the brain perceives it to be. This is why secret societies, encrypted messages, underground organizations, and unsolved conspiracies have fascinated people for centuries. They trigger something ancient inside the human mind, a desire to uncover what others cannot see. And Cicada 3301 exploited that instinct perfectly. But what made the mystery different from ordinary internet puzzles was how intelligently it manipulated curiosity itself. Every stage of the puzzle was carefully designed to create psychological momentum. The first clues were difficult, but not impossible. Hard enough to feel exclusive. Simple enough to feel achievable. That balance matters enormously. Because once a person solves an early challenge, their emotional investment changes immediately. The mystery no longer feels external. It becomes personal. The participant begins thinking, if I solve this part, maybe I'm capable of solving the next one too. That thought creates commitment. And commitment is psychologically powerful. Once human beings invest effort into something, they become emotionally attached to continuing it, even when no reward exists. This phenomenon appears everywhere. Video games, gambling systems, social media algorithms, online engagement loops, and Cicada 3301 seem to understand these psychological mechanisms at an extraordinary level. The mystery didn't simply reward intelligence. It rewarded persistence, obsession, pattern recognition, patience, isolation, the kinds of traits that slowly intensify the deeper someone becomes emotionally invested. And unlike traditional games, there were no clear boundaries separating fiction from reality. That uncertainty changed everything. Participants weren't solving puzzles inside a clearly defined entertainment environment. They were navigating real-world locations, real encrypted websites, real phone numbers, real hidden messages. The experience felt physically connected to reality itself. And psychologically, that makes immersion far more powerful. The brain begins treating the mystery as something authentic, something important, something potentially dangerous. This is one reason many participants described feeling emotionally uneasy during later stages of the puzzle. Not because of anything explicitly threatening, but because the mystery created a persistent atmosphere of uncertainty. Who created this? Why does it exist? What happens if someone actually reaches the end? The human brain struggles deeply with unresolved ambiguity, especially when combined with secrecy and intelligence. And perhaps the most unsettling part was how little emotional information the puzzle provided. No humor, no personality, no emotional warmth. The messages were cold, precise, almost mechanical, which made the creators feel psychologically distant. Unknown intelligence is always more disturbing than known intelligence, because the imagination fills empty space with fear. Over time, online investigators began noticing another strange pattern. The puzzle repeatedly referenced philosophy, not ordinary internet humor or hacker culture alone, but serious philosophical ideas. Freedom, privacy, individual sovereignty, distrust of centralized authority. Ancient texts about hidden knowledge and human perception. This shifted the emotional tone of the mystery dramatically. It no longer felt like a prank, or even just recruitment. It felt ideological, as though the creators believed they were selecting people based not only on intelligence, but worldview. Some researchers began comparing Cicada 3301 to historical intellectual movements. Groups built around the idea that society itself hides deeper systems of control beneath ordinary life. Again, there was never definitive proof of any ideology, but the philosophical references were real, and they changed how participants emotionally interpreted the experience. Because ideas are powerful, especially ideas wrapped in secrecy. Once people begin believing they are part of something intellectually significant, their emotional attachment intensifies rapidly. The mystery becomes identity, purpose, meaning, and this is where online environments become psychologically dangerous. Because the internet allows individuals to disappear into abstract worlds for enormous periods of time. Forums become communities. Theories become belief systems. Mysteries become emotional realities. People begin constructing identities around hidden knowledge itself. And Cicada 3301 emerged during a period when internet culture was already becoming increasingly obsessed with secrecy, surveillance, and digital freedom. Public trust in institutions was weakening. Privacy concerns were growing. Governments and corporations were accumulating unprecedented digital power. In that environment, a mysterious, anonymous organization discussing encryption and freedom felt deeply significant to many people, perhaps even hopeful. But others interpreted the mystery far more darkly. Some psychologists later argued that puzzles like Cicada 3301 reveal how easily intelligent individuals can become emotionally manipulated by exclusivity and uncertainty. Because intelligence does not make people immune to psychological influence. In some cases, it increases vulnerability. Highly analytical individuals often become deeply attached to solving unanswered questions. Their minds resist incompleteness, and unresolved mysteries can quietly dominate attention for years. This may explain why certain internet users became almost emotionally consumed by Cicada 3301. Not because they were irrational, but because the mystery continuously activated the brain's desire for closure. Yet closure never arrived. Only more ambiguity, more hidden layers, more silence. And silence is psychologically powerful. Human beings instinctively search for meaning inside silence. We imagine motives, construct narratives, project fears, especially when the source of silence appears intelligent. This is why anonymous internet phenomena often become more disturbing over time rather than less. Because the absence of explanation allows imagination to expand indefinitely. No confirmed ending means infinite speculation. And Cicada 3301 became the perfect environment for speculation. Every strange detail gained symbolic meaning. Every disappearance became suspicious. Every fragment of information became part of a growing mythology. Eventually, the mystery stopped functioning like a puzzle entirely. It evolved into something closer to modern folklore. A digital legend existing somewhere between reality and myth. And perhaps that transformation reveals the internet's strangest psychological effect of all. Online mysteries do not merely spread information. They spread emotional atmosphere. Fear, curiosity, obsession, paranoia, hope. The internet allows emotions themselves to move globally at extraordinary speed. And Cicada 3301 created one of the most powerful emotional atmospheres the digital world had ever seen. Not through violence, not through threats, but through uncertainty alone. The deeper people investigated Cicada 3301, the less the mystery seemed to be about solving puzzles. Instead, it became a mirror reflecting something darker about the internet itself. Because the internet does not simply store information. It amplifies obsession, and modern digital systems are extraordinarily effective at capturing human attention, especially attention driven by uncertainty. When human beings encounter unanswered questions, the brain experiences tension. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as a cognitive itch, a discomfort created by incomplete information. And once that discomfort appears, people naturally seek relief through answers. But internet mysteries rarely provide answers quickly. Instead, they provide fragments, partial discoveries, tiny emotional rewards, enough to keep curiosity alive. And Cicada 3301 mastered this mechanism perfectly. Every clue solved created temporary satisfaction. But immediately afterward, new uncertainty emerged. A deeper layer, a harder question, another hidden meaning. This created an endless psychological loop, and many participants unknowingly became trapped inside it. The internet has changed how obsession functions. In previous generations, isolation limited how deeply niche fascinations could grow. But online environments remove those limits completely. Now, people with the same obsession can connect instantly across continents. They reinforce each other's beliefs, share discoveries, escalate theories, and gradually create entire realities around shared uncertainty. This process appeared clearly during the height of the Cicada phenomenon. Forums became increasingly intense. People analyzed tiny details obsessively. Every symbol became meaningful. Every coincidence became suspicious. And because no authoritative explanation existed, Speculation expanded endlessly. Some users claimed the mystery connected to hidden government programs. Others believed it involved elite hackers manipulating global systems from the shadows. More extreme theories described psychological experiments designed to study human behavior online. Most of these claims lacked evidence. But emotionally, evidence stopped matching after a certain point, because the mystery itself had become emotionally immersive. And immersive environments alter perception, especially when people spend long periods inside isolated digital communities. Over time, participants stopped merely discussing the mystery. They began living inside it psychologically. Sleep schedules collapsed. Relationships weakened. Hours disappeared into endless analysis. People became emotionally attached to finding meaning inside ambiguity. And this reveals something deeply important about internet culture. The digital world rewards emotional intensity. The more emotionally invested someone becomes, the longer they remain engaged. Modern algorithms function the same way. Outrage spreads faster than calm discussion. Fear captures more attention than certainty. Mystery outperforms clarity. And unresolved tension keeps people returning repeatedly. In many ways, Cicada 3301 operated like an early demonstration of how powerful uncertainty could become online. Not because it manipulated millions, but because it deeply affected a smaller group of highly curious individuals. People already psychologically vulnerable to obsession. And this vulnerability often goes unnoticed because obsession initially looks productive. Participants appeared intelligent, focused, dedicated, but beneath that surface, many were experiencing something psychologically exhausting. Constant anticipation, constant uncertainty, constant searching. The human nervous system is not designed to remain inside unresolved tension indefinitely. Eventually, emotional fatigue appears, and some former participants later described exactly that feeling. Exhaustion, mental overstimulation, difficulty disconnecting from the mystery mentally even after stepping away from it physically. Because once the brain becomes conditioned to search for hidden patterns, it continues searching automatically. This phenomenon appears in many internet environments, conspiracy communities, alternate reality games, deep web investigations, even social media itself. People become psychologically trained to seek stimulation through endless discovery. And once that pattern forms, ordinary reality can begin feeling emotionally dull by comparison. This may partially explain why internet rabbit holes become so addictive. They create the sensation that hidden truth always exists one step further ahead. Another clue, another layer, another revelation. But often, the pursuit itself becomes more psychologically important than the answer. And Cicada 3301 embodied that process perfectly. Years passed without resolution. Still, people continued investigating, continued theorizing, continued searching for meaning, because the mystery no longer required answers to remain emotionally powerful. The uncertainty itself became the attraction. And perhaps it is what makes the story so disturbing. Not necessarily the possibility of hidden organizations or anonymous intelligence networks, but the realization that the human mind can become deeply consumed by uncertainty itself, especially online, because the internet creates environments where ambiguity never dies. Questions remain permanently available. Theories remain searchable forever. Discussions continue endlessly across archived forums and videos. Unlike physical mysteries that disappear over time, digital mysteries remain alive indefinitely, waiting for new people to discover them. And each new generation experiences the same psychological cycle again. Curiosity, excitement, obsession, immersion, uncertainty. The mystery regenerates continuously, almost like a living system feeding on attention. Some researchers have argued that internet mysteries reveal a deeper modern problem. Many people are searching desperately for meaning, for significance, for for hidden structure beneath ordinary life. And when society feels emotionally disconnected or artificial, mysteries offering secret knowledge become incredibly seductive. They create purpose, community, direction, even identity, especially for isolated individuals already feeling disconnected from the world around them. This may explain why so many internet mysteries develop near cult-like communities around them. Not because participants are unintelligent, but because human beings naturally seek emotional meaning. And uncertainty creates emotional gravity, especially uncertainty wrapped in intelligence and secrecy. Cicada 3301 understood that gravity better than perhaps any online mystery before it. It transformed curiosity into immersion, immersion into obsession, and obsession into mythology, all without ever revealing who was behind it, which leaves us facing an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe the most disturbing part of Cicada 3301 was never the puzzle itself. Maybe the real mystery was what it revealed about the psychological power of the internet over the human mind. Most people experience only a tiny fraction of the internet, a surface layer, social media, streaming platforms, news websites, search engines, familiar spaces designed to feel organized and visible. But beneath that surface exists another world entirely. A hidden internet most ordinary users never encounter directly. Private encrypted forums, anonymous communication systems, underground marketplaces, invitation-only communities, hidden networks operating quietly beyond public visibility. And Cicada 3301 seemed to emerge directly from that invisible digital world. That realization deeply disturbed many investigators, because it forced people to confront something psychologically uncomfortable. The internet is far larger and less understood than most people realize. Search engines create the illusion that everything online is searchable, visible, accessible, but in reality, massive portions of digital activity remain hidden intentionally. Some for privacy, some for security, some for secrecy, and anonymity fundamentally changes human behavior. When identity disappears, social rules begin changing with it. People speak differently, organize differently, think differently. The internet allows intelligence to operate without physical presence, without faces, without accountability. And that capability creates enormous psychological tension, because human beings instinctively trust visible systems more than invisible ones. We feel safer when power is identifiable. Governments have buildings, corporations have logos, public figures have names and faces. But anonymous digital systems operate differently. Influence can emerge from nowhere. A single unidentified person can trigger global attention within hours. A hidden group can coordinate internationally without public recognition. And Cicada 3301 demonstrated that possibility with frightening precision. The mystery appeared suddenly, spread globally, manipulated enormous curiosity, then disappeared again without explanation. No interviews, no organization, no clear motive, just silence. And silence creates fear because it removes certainty. People naturally assume hidden systems are dangerous precisely because they cannot be fully observed. This fear intensified as investigators began exploring deeper internet spaces connected to the mystery. Encrypted communication channels, dark web references, anonymous message boards, obscure cryptography communities. The deeper researchers traveled into these environments, the stranger the internet began feeling. Not necessarily evil, just unfamiliar, detached from ordinary reality. Many investigators later described a psychological shift after spending long periods inside hidden digital spaces. The familiar internet started feeling artificial, curated, controlled, while hidden communities felt more raw and unpredictable. more honest in some ways, more dangerous in others. This perception altered how many participants viewed online life permanently. Because once people become aware of hidden digital ecosystems, they begin questioning how much remains invisible, and uncertainty naturally expands from there. What other anonymous networks exist? Who controls them? How much influence do hidden communities actually possess? Most importantly, how would ordinary people ever know? These questions become psychologically unsettling because the internet already shapes enormous parts of modern reality. Politics, finance, relationships, media, public opinion, cultural trends. Increasingly, society itself operates through digital systems most people barely understand technically, and that dependence creates vulnerability, especially when anonymous intelligence operates within those systems invisibly. This is one reason theories surrounding Cicada 3301 became so emotionally intense. The mystery appeared during a period when public trust in digital systems was already weakening. Mass surveillance revelations were spreading globally. Data collection by corporations was expanding rapidly. Cybersecurity threats were increasing. People were beginning to realize how little privacy actually existed online. In that atmosphere, a mysterious, anonymous organization discussing cryptography and freedom felt deeply symbolic, almost mythological. To some, Cicada 3301 represented resistance against digital control. To others, it represented proof that hidden networks already operated beneath public awareness. And perhaps both interpretations reveal something important about modern society. People increasingly feel disconnected from the systems controlling their lives. Algorithms influence what they see. Corporations collect personal information constantly. Governments monitor digital activity at unprecedented scale. Yet most people barely understand how those systems function. That lack of understanding creates anxiety, and anxiety naturally fuels fascination with hidden knowledge. Because hidden knowledge creates the illusion of regained control, the feeling that someone sees beyond the surface. This psychological pattern appears repeatedly throughout history. Whenever societies become complex and difficult to understand, secretive groups and hidden system theories begin attracting attention. People crave explanations for invisible power, and the internet intensified that craving dramatically. Today, enormous influence can emerge anonymously online without physical visibility. Entire communities can form without geographic location. Movements can spread globally through encrypted communication. The old rules separating public and hidden life have partially collapsed. Cicada 3301 felt like a glimpse into that new reality. A reminder that invisible intelligence can already organize globally through digital systems. Quietly, efficiently, anonymously. And perhaps the most unsettling part is how normal this may become in the future. Artificial intelligence, decentralized networks, encrypted systems, anonymous coordination. The internet is evolving faster than human psychology can comfortably adapt to. People still instinctively seek visible structures and clear authority. But modern digital environments increasingly operate through invisible systems few fully understand. This creates a strange, emotional contradiction. Human civilization has never been more connected, yet many people feel increasingly uncertain about who or what is shaping the world around them. And Cicada 3301 emerged directly inside that uncertainty, not merely as a puzzle, but as a symbol of hidden intelligence operating quietly beyond ordinary perception, which is perhaps why the mystery continues haunting the internet after so many years. Because deep down, many people suspect the hidden internet contains far more than anyone publicly admits. And mysteries like Cicada 3301 briefly expose just enough of that hidden world to make ordinary reality feel unsettling afterward. As the mystery of Cicada 3301 spread across the internet, thousands of theories emerged. Most were predictable: government recruitment, elite hacker groups, cybersecurity organizations, underground activists. But over time, one theory disturbed investigators more than all the others combined, because unlike the more sensational explanations, this theory felt psychologically possible. The theory suggested Cicada 3301 was not searching for the smartest people. It was searching for the most psychologically compatible people. At first, that distinction may sound subtle, but psychologically, it changes everything. Because intelligence alone is relatively easy to identify. Universities do it constantly. Corporations do it through hiring systems. Governments do it through testing. But Cicada 3301 used an entirely different method. It created emotional pressure, isolation, ambiguity, uncertainty, long-term obsession, and then quietly observed who continued moving forward. Some psychologists later argued this resembled behavioral filtering more than intellectual testing. The puzzle did not simply measure knowledge. It measured persistence under uncertainty, obedience to abstract instructions, tolerance for isolation, ability to maintain focus for enormous periods of time, and, perhaps most importantly, the willingness to keep following an anonymous system without fully understanding its purpose. That realization deeply unsettled many investigators, because viewed through that lens, the mystery no longer resembled a game. It resembled selection, a process identifying certain personality types through psychological endurance. Of course, there is no confirmed evidence this interpretation is true, but the structure of the puzzle undeniably encouraged specific behaviors. Participants followed hidden instructions from anonymous creators, traveled to physical locations without clear explanations, devoted enormous time to solving increasingly obscure challenges, maintained secrecy, accepted uncertainty, continued despite having no guaranteed reward, and psychologically, those behaviors reveal a great deal about a person. This led some researchers to ask an uncomfortable question. What if the puzzle itself was never the real objective? What if observing participants was the objective all along? That theory transformed the emotional atmosphere surrounding Cicada 3301 completely. Because now the mystery implied surveillance rather than recruitment, observation rather than communication. The participants solving the puzzle believed they were analyzing the system. But what if the system was analyzing them? That reversal disturbed people deeply, especially because modern digital systems already collect enormous behavioral data constantly. Search patterns, attention spans, communication habits, emotional reactions, social behavior. Most people unknowingly participate in behavioral analysis every day online. Algorithms study human psychology continuously. Which content keeps attention longest? Which emotions generate engagement? Which fears spread fastest? The internet has become an enormous behavioral laboratory. And in that environment, Cicada 3301 suddenly felt less impossible. Not because it was necessarily dangerous, but because psychologically sophisticated digital systems already exist everywhere. Modern platforms understand human attention at extraordinary depth. They know how to trigger curiosity, compulsion, emotional reaction, engagement loops, and Cicada 3301 displayed similar psychological precision. The mystery knew exactly how to keep intelligent people emotionally invested. Minimal information, intermittent rewards, hidden progression, exclusivity, uncertainty. These mechanisms are psychologically powerful because they activate the brain's reward systems unpredictably. And unpredictable rewards create stronger attachment than predictable ones. Casinos understand this. Social media platforms understand this. And whoever designed Cicada 3301 appeared to understand it too. This realization created another disturbing possibility. What if future digital systems become capable of identifying and psychologically filtering people automatically? not through direct force, but through behavioral interaction. Invisible systems quietly studying personality through participation itself. Again, there is no evidence Cicada 3301 operated this way intentionally. But the structure of the mystery made people confront how easily such systems could theoretically exist. And perhaps that possibility frightened investigators more than any conspiracy theory ever could, because it no longer sounded fictional. Modern technology already allows behavioral prediction at enormous scale. Artificial intelligence systems analyze human patterns constantly. Governments and corporations collect vast psychological data through online behavior. The infrastructure already exists. Cicada 3301 simply dramatized the idea in a mysterious form. A hidden system selecting individuals through curiosity and behavior. And psychologically, that concept is terrifying because it removes clear boundaries between free choice and manipulation. Participants believed they were freely pursuing the mystery, but the mystery itself shaped their behavior continuously. Directed attention, controlled emotional momentum, created obsession, and once people recognized that dynamic, the entire story began feeling darker. Not because of any confirmed malicious intent, but because it exposed how vulnerable human psychology becomes inside carefully designed digital environments, especially environments built around uncertainty. Human beings instinctively seek meaning and progression. We dislike unresolved tension. We crave completion, and systems that exploit those instincts can become extraordinarily influential. Most people imagine manipulation as something obvious, aggressive, visible, but the most effective psychological systems are often subtle, quiet, invisible. They guide behavior without appearing controlling. And Cicada 3301 felt disturbingly subtle. The mystery never threatened people, never forced participation, never demanded obedience directly. It simply created emotional gravity powerful enough that certain individuals willingly followed deeper and deeper into uncertainty. That is what made the story psychologically haunting. Because the participants were not weak-minded. Many were highly intelligent, technically skilled, analytical, yet intelligence alone did not protect them from emotional immersion. In some cases, their intelligence intensified it. Because highly analytical people often struggle most with unanswered questions. Their minds resist ambiguity. They keep searching for hidden patterns long after others walk away. And Cicada 3301 weaponized ambiguity perfectly. No clear ending. No confirmed truth. No identifiable creators. Only silence. Which meant the mystery could continue evolving indefinitely inside people's minds. Perhaps that is why the story still lingers online years later. Not because anyone proved the theories true, but because the mystery revealed something psychologically disturbing about the modern world. Invisible systems no longer need force to influence human behavior. Sometimes, curiosity alone is enough. Eventually, the internet began noticing something strange. The people who supposedly solved parts of the Cicada 3301 puzzle rarely spoke publicly afterward. At first, this seemed understandable. Perhaps they had signed agreements. Perhaps they simply valued privacy. But as years passed, the silence became increasingly unsettling. Because in internet culture, people usually talk. Especially after participating in something globally famous. People post screenshots, stories, explanations, evidence. But with Cicada 3301, very little verifiable information ever emerged from those who allegedly reached advanced stages. Some former participants briefly appeared online claiming they had been recruited into private projects. Others hinted that the experience had disappointed them. A few suggested the organization behind the puzzle was ideological rather than mysterious. But nearly all public accounts remained fragmented and impossible to fully verify. Then the users vanished again. Deleted accounts, inactive profiles, dead forums, silence. And silence creates mythology. The less information people received, the more speculation intensified. Some investigators began asking whether the silence itself was intentional, not enforced through threats, but encouraged psychologically, because secrecy creates exclusivity, and exclusivity strengthens emotional identity. If participants truly believed they had entered a hidden intellectual community, remaining silent may have felt meaningful in itself, a sign of belonging. This possibility deeply fascinated psychologists studying online behavior, because internet communities often develop unspoken social rituals around secrecy. Hidden information becomes status. Restricted knowledge creates hierarchy. The less outsiders understand, the stronger the internal identity becomes. And Cicada 3301 appeared perfectly structured to create that effect. The mystery divided people into categories naturally: observers, participants, advanced solvers, and supposedly those who reached the final stages, whether intentional or not. This structure mirrored initiation systems found throughout history: secret societies, underground movements, exclusive intellectual groups. All rely heavily on progression through hidden knowledge. And hidden knowledge changes human psychology dramatically. Once people believe they possess information unavailable to others, their relationship with reality itself can shift. They begin viewing ordinary society differently, detached, superficial, unaware. Meanwhile, the hidden community feels more authentic, more meaningful, more intellectually alive. This emotional transition is extremely powerful, and some researchers believe digital environments intensify it more than physical groups ever could, because online communities operate continuously, 24 hours a day, across continents, without physical boundaries. The internet allows people to disappear psychologically into hidden worlds almost completely, especially isolated individuals already searching for meaning or identity. Cicada 3301 arrived during a time when many people felt increasingly disconnected from modern society. Social media was becoming performative. Corporate influence online was growing rapidly. Algorithms were shaping attention invisibly. Trust in institutions was weakening. In that atmosphere, a mysterious anonymous network discussing privacy, freedom, and hidden intelligence felt almost magnetic to certain people. Not simply exciting, meaningful. And meaning is one of the strongest psychological forces human beings experience. People will endure enormous uncertainty if they believe something gives their lives significance. This may explain why some participants devoted extraordinary amounts of time to the puzzle despite receiving almost nothing tangible in return. No money, no fame, no guaranteed outcome, only the possibility of hidden purpose. And purpose can become addictive, especially when wrapped inside mystery. But eventually, another disturbing realization began emerging among long-term investigators. The mystery itself might not matter anymore. By that point, Cicada 3301 had already achieved something larger. It had embedded itself permanently into internet culture. The name became legendary. Videos analyzing the mystery accumulated millions of views. Forums archived every detail obsessively. Entire communities formed around investigating hidden online systems. In other words, the puzzle no longer needed active creators to survive. The internet itself kept it alive. And this is one of the strangest properties of digital culture. Online myths can become self-sustaining. Once enough people emotionally invest in a mystery, the community continues generating momentum automatically. New theories appear constantly. Old details gain new interpretations. Archive fragments feel alive again. The mystery evolves continuously without needing resolution. Cicada 3301 transformed from an event into folklore. Modern digital folklore. A story existing somewhere between documented reality and collective imagination. And perhaps that transformation reveals something unsettling about the internet itself. The internet does not merely preserve information. It preserves emotional atmosphere. Fear, curiosity, suspicion, obsession. These emotions remain embedded inside archived videos, discussions, and theories indefinitely. New users entering the mystery years later experience the same emotional tension all over again, which means the story never fully ends. It simply waits for the next curious mind to discover it, almost like a dormant signal hidden beneath ordinary internet noise. And perhaps that is why the silence surrounding Cicada 3301 became more disturbing than any answer ever could have been. Because silence leaves room for imagination. And imagination often creates fears more powerful than reality itself. If the creators had publicly explained everything, the mystery would probably have faded years ago. But they never did. They simply disappeared, leaving behind fragments, encrypted traces, dead links, scattered clues across forgotten corners of the internet. And that absence forced people to confront an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe some systems online are never meant to be fully understood. Maybe certain networks intentionally operate beyond public visibility forever. Not because they are supernatural, not because they control the world, but because the internet finally made permanent anonymity possible at global scale. And human psychology still has not adapted to that reality completely. We instinctively expect important things to reveal themselves eventually, to become visible, explainable. But the internet allows intelligence to remain hidden indefinitely, faceless, silent, watching from somewhere beyond ordinary perception. And Cicada 3301 became the perfect symbol of that unsettling new reality. Most internet mysteries eventually die. Interest fades. People move on. New trends replace old obsessions. But some mysteries survive for decades. Not because they are solved, but because they remain emotionally unfinished. And Cicada 3301 became one of those mysteries. Years after the original puzzles appeared, people still search for answers, still analyze old clues, still debate theories across forums and videos. At first glance, this persistence seems irrational. Why continue investigating something with no confirmed resolution? But psychologically, the answer is simple. Human beings struggle to let go of unfinished patterns, especially patterns connected to hidden meaning. The brain naturally seeks completion, closure, narrative endings. And when closure never arrives, the mind keeps returning to the mystery repeatedly, almost automatically. This is known in psychology as the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished experiences tend to remain active in memory far longer than completed ones. The brain treats unresolved information like an open loop demanding closure. And Cicada 3301 created one of the largest unresolved loops in internet history. No explanation, no final reveal, no clear ending, only silence, which meant the emotional tension surrounding the mystery never fully disappeared. It simply evolved. Over time, the puzzle itself became less important than the atmosphere surrounding it. The feeling that hidden systems may exist beneath ordinary digital life. The suspicion that anonymous intelligence operates invisibly online. The possibility that the internet contains layers most people never notice. These ideas became emotionally attached to the name Cicada 3301 itself. And once ideas become emotionally symbolic, they become extremely difficult to erase. This is how myths form. not necessarily through false information, but through emotional resonance. Stories survive when they trigger something psychologically deep inside people. Fear, curiosity, wonder, existential uncertainty. And Cicada 3301 triggered all of them simultaneously. But perhaps the most important reason the mystery survived is because it arrived during a moment when society itself was changing psychologically. The internet was no longer just entertainment. It was becoming infrastructure. Daily life increasingly depended on invisible digital systems. Algorithms shaped attention. Corporations harvested behavioral data. Surveillance technology expanded rapidly. Artificial intelligence systems became more powerful every year, and many people began feeling something difficult to describe emotionally. A growing sense that unseen systems were influencing reality itself, not necessarily through conspiracy, but through complexity. Modern digital systems became too large for ordinary people to fully understand. And when human beings cannot fully understand systems controlling their lives, anxiety naturally appears. Cicada 3301 emerged directly inside that anxiety. The mystery felt symbolic of a world becoming increasingly invisible and psychologically difficult to comprehend. Hidden networks, anonymous intelligence, encrypted communication, invisible coordination. These no longer sounded fictional. They sounded plausible. And plausibility makes mysteries emotionally dangerous, because the human imagination expands most powerfully around things that feel possible. This is why Cicada 3301 disturbed people more deeply than ordinary horror stories ever could. The mystery never relied on monsters, violence, or supernatural fear. Instead, it confronted people with something psychologically more unsettling. The possibility that hidden intelligence already exists quietly around us, operating anonymously inside systems we barely understand. And perhaps even more disturbing, that most people would never notice it. That idea changes how people view the internet permanently. After learning about Cicada 3301, many individuals reported feeling different online afterward, more aware of hidden structures, more suspicious of invisible systems, more conscious of how little they truly understood about the digital world surrounding them. In this sense, the mystery functioned almost like a psychological trigger. Once someone saw the internet as layered and partially hidden, they could never fully return to viewing it as simple again. And perhaps that transformation was always the most important part of the story. Not solving the puzzle, but changing perception itself. Because perception shapes reality psychologically. The moment people begin believing hidden systems exist, they start noticing signs of them everywhere. Patterns, connections, coincidences. The brain naturally searches for confirmation of emotionally powerful ideas, especially ideas involving secrecy and intelligence. This can become dangerous when it drifts into paranoia, but it also reveals something real about modern life. The digital world truly is partially invisible. Most systems shaping modern society operate beyond ordinary public understanding. Algorithms, data systems, artificial intelligence models, behavioral prediction systems, massive infrastructures few people fully comprehend. And human psychology is still adapting to this reality. We evolved in physical environments where threats and power structures were visible directly. But digital environments operate differently. Influence can emerge anonymously. Intelligence can remain hidden indefinitely. Invisible systems can shape millions of lives silently. Cicada 3301 became frightening because it symbolized that transition perfectly. A glimpse into a future where intelligence and influence no longer require visibility at all. And maybe that is why the mystery still lingers after all these years. Because deep down, many people sense the internet is becoming something psychologically unfamiliar. A world where hidden systems increasingly shape reality quietly in the background. And mysteries like Cicada 3301 briefly expose just enough of that hidden landscape to make ordinary life feel slightly unsettling afterward. Not because they provide answers, but because they force people to confront how many questions may never have answers at all. More than a decade has passed since Cicada 3301 first appeared online, and still, nobody truly knows who created it. No verified founder, no confirmed organization, no public explanation, just fragments scattered across the internet like digital fossils from another era. For many people, that uncertainty remains deeply uncomfortable. Because modern society is built around the assumption that information eventually becomes visible, that secrets leak, systems expose themselves, truth emerges over time. But Cicada 3301 challenged that assumption completely. It proved something psychologically disturbing. In the digital age, an intelligent anonymous system can influence thousands of people globally and disappear without leaving a clear identity behind. That possibility changed how many people viewed the internet forever. Before mysteries like this, the internet often felt open and understandable. Chaotic perhaps, but visible. After Cicada 3301, many people began sensing another layer beneath ordinary online life. A quieter layer. Invisible networks. Encrypted communities. Anonymous intelligence operating silently in the background. Whether those systems are dangerous or not almost becomes irrelevant psychologically, because uncertainty itself creates fear, and the human mind naturally fears what it cannot fully observe. This is why the mystery still survives. Not because people expect a final answer anymore, but because the story awakened a deeper anxiety already growing beneath modern digital life. The fear that invisible systems increasingly shape the world around us while remaining impossible to fully understand. Algorithms already influence human behavior at enormous scale. Artificial intelligence systems already analyze psychology continuously. Corporations already collect behavioral data most people never consciously notice. And online anonymity already allows individuals and groups to operate globally without revealing identity. Cicada 3301 simply condensed all of those anxieties into a single haunting symbol. A faceless intelligence emerging briefly from the darkness of the internet, then vanishing again. And perhaps what disturbed people most was not the mystery itself, but how believable it felt. Nothing about Cicada 3301 required supernatural explanations. No impossible technology. No fantasy elements. Everything about it existed within the capabilities of the modern digital world, which meant the mystery forced people to confront a deeply uncomfortable reality. The internet has already become too large for any individual to fully understand. Hidden systems exist by default now. Invisible communities exist by default. Anonymous coordination exists by default. The digital world no longer operates entirely in public view, and human psychology still struggles to adapt to that fact emotionally. We instinctively seek visible structures, clear authority, recognizable identities. But the internet increasingly allows influence to exist without any of those things. And perhaps that is why modern online life often feels strangely psychologically exhausting. People sense invisible forces shaping their attention constantly. Algorithms deciding what they see. Systems tracking behavior silently. Trends emerging without obvious origins. Information spreading faster than anyone can fully verify. The modern internet often feels less like a tool and more like an environment humans now live inside psychologically. An environment no single person completely understands. And within that environment, mysteries like Cicada 3301 become powerful symbols. Not because they prove hidden conspiracies, but because they expose how vulnerable human perception becomes inside invisible systems. The mystery manipulated curiosity, attention, obsession, meaning, without ever using force. That alone reveals something profound about human psychology. People do not need to be controlled aggressively to become emotionally consumed. Sometimes, uncertainty is enough. A hidden clue, a partial answer, a suggestion that deeper meaning exists somewhere just beyond reach. The human brain will chase that feeling for years, perhaps forever. And maybe this explains why so many people remain fascinated by unsolved internet mysteries in general. Because modern life often feels emotionally fragmented, artificial, overstimulated. People crave hidden meaning beneath the noise. Something mysterious, something real, something untouched by the constant performance of online culture. Cicada 3301 appeared to offer exactly that. A doorway into something secret and intellectually significant. Whether that doorway led anywhere meaningful no longer matters psychologically. The emotional experience itself became the point. And now, the mystery exists permanently inside internet history. Archived endlessly across videos, forums, documentaries, and discussions. Waiting for new curious minds to discover it late at night. The cycle repeating again. Curiosity, immersion, obsession, uncertainty, silence. Just like before. And somewhere out there, buried beneath billions of ordinary web pages and forgotten digital ruins, the traces still remain. Old encrypted messages, dead links, archive code, fragments of a signal nobody fully understood. A signal that briefly appeared, captured the attention of thousands of intelligent minds across the world, then disappeared back into darkness, leaving behind only one final unsettling question. What other signals are still out there, hidden quietly beneath the surface of the internet, waiting for the right person to notice them? And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all. Not that Cicada 3301 was ever solved, but that it proved how easily the internet can hide things in plain sight. Invisible systems, anonymous intelligence, entire worlds operating quietly beneath the surface of ordinary life. And somewhere tonight, while millions scroll through familiar screens, believing they understand the digital world around them, another hidden signal may already exist, waiting, silent, unnoticed, until the right person finds it. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep psychological and internet mystery documentaries every week. And remember, the internet never truly forgets. It only buries things deeper.